What's up, Rev? Man, it's good to be with you guys tonight. All right, I've got a question for us as we kick the night off. How do we feel about school? Do we have good feelings about school? Do we have bad feelings about school? Because I really liked school, okay? I liked it a lot. I liked the routine of it. I liked that it gave me something to do every day. I liked my friends. I liked learning stuff. I just kind of enjoyed going to school. Now, if I've lost you, just hang with me because there was something in school that I didn't really like all that much, and that was group projects. Do you guys still do group projects? I just did not like those. Because it felt like every time I got together with other high school students, we just didn't want to do anything. No one wanted to own anything, and the grade was it was determined by all of our efforts, you know what I'm saying? And so we all didn't do something, we all got a bad grade. I hated it. But there was always that one person in class that you knew was gonna do all of the work for you, right? You knew that they were gonna go above and beyond, and that you wanted that person in your group. And when I was in high school, that person's name was Brittany. Brittany was and still is one of the hardest working, most diligent people I've ever met. And one time, I was in a group project with her, and it was incredible, you guys. Here's what happened. So groups got assigned. They told us what we were doing for the assignment, and then Brittany huddled us up inside the classroom. And she's 16 or something. She huddles us up, and she's like, all right, you guys, we're gonna crush this. This is gonna be the best group assignment that has ever existed in all the world. And I'm like, okay, all right, yeah, I'm into this, all right. I'm getting hyped up by this. And she's like, all right, what are you guys passionate about? What do you like doing? Do you like presenting? Do you like doing research? What do you like to do? And so she's we talk about what we like to do. And then she's like, okay, I'll take everything else. So she took all of the work that none of us wanted to do. And for the next couple of weeks, she checked in on us like she was our mom or something. How's it going? I'm super proud of you. Do you need a sucker or anything? She was just super, and it was never bad. It was always I'm doing okay. I'm doing the work. Are you proud of me, Brittany? She's a peer. I don't know why I needed to impress her, but by the end of it, we all presented our assignment in front of the class, and we all got A's. But the reason we all got A's was because Brittany was in our group. As soon as Brittany came into our group, we all knew that we wanted to listen to her because she had a reputation of if you wanted to get a good grade, you listened to what she had to say. And the reason I tell you guys that story today is because we have been in this series called Listen Up. And in this series, we've been talking about this one statement the whole time, that what we listen to influences who we are and who we will become. We've talked about this being fundamentally true in our lives. But tonight what we're gonna do is we're gonna flip the script a little bit. We're gonna talk about what other people hear when they listen to us. What do other people hear when they listen to us? And the story I just told you about Brittany and our group, we all wanted to listen to Brittany because she was worth listening to. So the question I want to ask all of us across all of our campuses as we frame up this message is this question right here. Are you worth listening to? Now the first answer here is yes. You are worth listening to because you have worth connected to you. And the reason you have worth connected to you is because God created you. God made you unique, and God puts his love inside of you and behind your life. So you are worth listening to. But the problem is that a lot of us don't live like we're worth listening to all the time, right? And so tonight what we're gonna do is we're gonna spend our time talking about 2 ways that we can become worth listening to in our life. And the way that we're gonna do that is we're gonna look into the words of Jesus. Jesus gave his most important message in the book of Matthew, and it's called the Sermon on the Mount. And this message the purpose of it was to help people know how to live a life worth listening to. And so we're gonna take our lead from Jesus tonight as we discuss 2 ways to become the kind of person that people want to listen to. And the first key to this is found at the very beginning of that teaching from Jesus. And the first key is this right here. It's to be like salt. Let's check out how Jesus said this. He said, you are the salt of the earth. But if salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer worth anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. Now, this is kind of a weird saying, and I get that. But the point here for us to understand is what salt does. Okay, salt makes food taste really good. And it does that by enhancing its natural flavors of anything that it's paired with. And the truth is that people put salt on like some weird foods, right? Like I remember growing up, my mom put salt on watermelons and apples. And I always thought that was so strange. Like it felt like those two things didn't come together. And so I thought it'd be kind of fun if we went through the most popular foods that people put salt on, and this list was put together by the internet, so you know it's reliable, okay? So this is the first one. The first one is potato chips. Like the saltiest thing in the entire world, people are putting extra salt on. Like, if that's you, you might need to go to the doctor or something, or we'll pray for you afterwards. Like, I'm just worried about your health, okay? Okay, that's the first one. The second one is this, pizza, okay? I've never put salt on pizza in my life. Do you know why? Because the moment that pizza touches my hand, it is instantly in my mouth and in my stomach, okay? I have no time to put salt on pizza. I'm just eating it, okay? This is the third one, mac and cheese. This one's mine. I just put that one in there. I do this. I put salt on mac and cheese. And if you haven't done it, just try it. It will change your life. Like mac and cheese is already good, but salt just like makes it better somehow, okay? So mac and cheese. Third one, steak. Now listen, where I'm from, if you put anything on a cooked steak that is given to you, it's like an insult to the cook. Like, is that just me? But like that's not, you're not allowed to do that where I'm from. And so we don't do it. Third one, bacon. Why? I heard someone say, why? Right. Like bacon is the king of meats. Why would you need to put salt? It's already delicious. I don't get it. But anyways, that's just kind of a fun list. But the reason I gave you that list is to show you that like none of these foods need salt to be delicious. None of them need it to be enjoyable. But the reason people put salt on those foods is to make them better. Salt enhances the natural flavors of those foods to make them even more enjoyable. So Jesus was teaching us that we need to be like salt and make other people better by enhancing who they are. Now, the way that we do that is kind of a fun way to talk about it. Because how do we do that, right? How do we make people better by enhancing who they are? Well, a really good practice is something that I saw at the airport once. And it's this. When you see something, say something. When you see something, say something. So I was at the airport a few months ago, and I saw this sign everywhere. When you see something, say something. And the reason they were up all over the place is because they were trying to encourage people, if you see some like suspicious behavior or a bag left unattended, tell somebody with a badge, tell somebody who's in charge, who looks like they're in charge, so that they can stop a potentially bad situation. When you see something, have courage to say something about it. And I was thinking about that like idea that we need courage to tell someone that something bad might happen. And I thought, isn't it also true that we need courage or we need permission to also say good things about people? We need courage to bring out the good in another person so that they know that good lives in them and that it's visible to other people. When you see something, say something. I love the way that this guy Paul, who wrote most of the New Testament in the Bible, puts it in the book of Ephesians when he says this. He says, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. What Paul's trying to get at here is if people are going to give you their time, if people are going to listen to what you have to say, then whatever comes out of your mouth should build them up. Whatever you say to them, however you react to them, it should be to their benefit. When you see something, you should say something good. And the challenge for us in this verse is to be on the lookout for the good we see in other people and then to say something about it. Now, I'm not just talking about complimenting people on the way that they look or what they're wearing, even though those are nice things. What I'm talking about is when someone answers a difficult question in class, you make it a point to go up to them and say, hey, I saw what you did. Good job, dude. That was a tough answer. Or you see someone do something awesome on the field or exceed as an athlete, and you say, you must be working really hard. I'm noticing it. Keep going. Or you see someone who's having an obviously rough day, who sits alone at lunch every single day, and you have the courage to go up to them and say, hey, are you okay? Do you need to talk? Do you need a friend? And as I'm saying that, I bet that some of your skin is like crawling, right? Like, because you're thinking like, Brandon, I can't do that. Like, people will think that I'm weird. I won't know what to say, or nobody is gonna listen to me. And what I would say to you if you're feeling that is this: everybody needs to know that somebody sees something good in them. Everybody needs to know that somebody else sees something good in them. And the reason for that is because we so often forget that there's anything good inside of us in the first place. We so often forget that there's something good inside of us in the first place. And sometimes we just need to hear somebody else point it out. And you can do that. You can do that for somebody else. When you see something, you can say something. So my friends, be like salt and enhance people's lives by making them better, by calling out what is good in them. Don't be afraid to do it, because this kind of kindness will take courage, but courage and kindness are contagious. And when you take this risk and you draw out the good in other people, people will want to listen to you. So that's the first key. To become a person worth listening to is to be like salt. And the second is this: be like light. Right after Jesus calls us the salt of the earth, he calls us the light of the world. Let's check out how he says it. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify God. Once again, the point here is for us to understand what light does and how it should be used. And light, very simply, lights up the darkness. It makes it possible for us to see where we are going. I mean, think about it. When people enter a dark room, the first thing they're looking for is the light switch, right? And isn't it the worst when you walk into an unfamiliar dark room and you don't know where the light switch is? And you're like tripping all over the stuff, and you're like feeling the walls like a dummy to try to find where the light switch is so that you can finally see where you're going? In the same way, Jesus is saying people shouldn't have to search to find the light in us. It should just be shining all the time. Now, that's not to say that we don't have bad days, right? That's not to say that we don't have bad moods, but what it is saying is that we are willing to be committed to shining the light into people's lives on a regular basis, every day. So how do we do that? How do we begin to do that? Well, a good place to start is by doing this. Don't be ashamed to do something good for someone else. Don't be ashamed to do something good for someone else. Now listen, this is so easy to say, and it is so difficult to do, especially in high school. Because right now, it is so much easier for you in high school to make fun of someone for what they're wearing or what they're doing, or be sarcastic to someone, or be sarcastic all of the time and never know if you're actually serious about anything. It's so much easier to do that than it is to just be nice to someone. It's so much easier to do that than to genuinely be kind towards someone else. Sometimes it probably seems like the people who are most celebrated in your high school are the people who are the fastest to take advantage of someone else. And it counts twice if you catch it on video and you make a meme out of it, right? But friends, Jesus is trying to show us a different way. Jesus is trying to show us a completely different way to do this. And Jesus does this by exemplifying it with his life. That guy Paul that I talked about earlier, who wrote most of the New Testament, he also wrote a book of the Bible called Philippians. And in Philippians, he talks about Jesus. And in it, he tells us that Jesus was and is God. Jesus is completely God. That Jesus lived in heaven. And that Jesus sacrificed his position of God. He left his position in heaven and he came to earth to make relationship with us, to remind us that we matter. Jesus was not ashamed to do something good for every single one of us. And the good that he did for us set us up for an eternity of happiness. So the challenge for us is to figure out ways to be the kind of light that Jesus was to someone else. And it starts by us not being afraid or ashamed to just do something good for somebody else. Because when we do, it has the potential to transform somebody's life. And not only that, but through our good deeds, like Jesus said, people will see and glorify God. Now, the reason I'm able to tell you that so confidently is because that's what happened to me when I was young. I've told you guys before that when I was 12 years old, my parents got a divorce. And it was one of the most difficult times in my life, one of the darkest times of my life. I felt alone and afraid and ashamed, and everything that I thought was solid was coming undone. But thankfully, I had a guy in my life who wanted to shine light into me. His name is Chris, but me and all my friends called him Poppy. I have no idea why. We just called him Poppy. He was actually my small group leader at church. And one night, Poppy organized something that changed my life. It was right after my parents got divorced. I was really broken. And they showed up on a Thursday night, my whole small group and Poppy. They knocked on my door. I answered the door. And they grabbed me and they took me to my favorite restaurant. And once we got there, I said, what are we doing here, you guys? And Poppy said, we are throwing you a YAL party. I was like, what is a YAL party? And he said, it stands for You Are Loved. And as soon as I heard that, I just began to cry. And the reason I began to cry is because I had forgotten that I was able to be loved. I didn't realize that I just needed to hear somebody say to me, hey, you matter, Brandon. Hey, you're worth showing up for on a Thursday night. And then Poppy said, listen, for the rest of the night, we've got it. We're going to pay for your meal. We are going to take you mini golfing. And if you want to talk about your parents, you can, but you don't have to. And I cried a little bit longer. I won't show you how I cried because I'm an ugly crier. They're ugly criers, and I'm one of those. But I ugly cried a little bit. And then after that, I just had the best time with my small group. And then after the night was over, I went to Poppy and I said, why did you do this for me? And he said to me, he said, Brandon, this is what Jesus does for me every single day. And I wanted you to know what it feels like. And that just hit me. And from that moment on, I was different, you guys. From that moment on, I knew that I wanted to throw YAL parties for everyone in my life. Because you never know what people are going through. You never know how dark someone's life is, and you never know how often somebody needs to just be reminded that they're worth showing up for on a Thursday night. The reason Poppy did that is because Jesus did that for him, and he wanted me to know what it felt like. And friends, Jesus does that for you. He shows up for you in dark moments, in difficult times. And when he does, the challenge for you is to do that for somebody else, to be a light for someone else. Because when Poppy did that for me, I didn't have all the answers figured out in my brain of how to figure out my parents' divorce. But what I did know is I clearly knew, I could clearly see because the light was on that I wouldn't have to do it alone. And that changed things for me. And so that's the challenge for you tonight. The challenge for you tonight is to be like light and to be like salt because somebody is listening to you. To go back to the question that I asked at the very beginning of this message, where I asked, are you worth listening to? Are you like salt? Are you willing to draw out the good in other people in your life? Are you like light, willing to shine light into people's lives so they can see a way forward, so that they can see hope maybe for the first time in a long time? If not, if you're none of those things right now, the good news for you is that it can start tonight. And I'm going to give you one practical way to do this. You heard it at all of your campuses before the message, but we have these cards as you leave tonight. These cards are invitation cards to the retreat that we have coming up. And I want to challenge you to grab a bunch of these. And I want you to hand them out to people that need to be reminded that they're worth something. someone that needs light in their life, somebody that needs to have the good drawn out of them. Who in your life needs this? Give it to them and invite them to the retreat and just see what happens next. See how God uses that in their life. And so what we're gonna do now is across all campuses, I'm gonna invite the bands to come back onto stage and we're gonna sing one more song together. And as we sing this song, I wanna give you a challenge. I want you to think of 1 to 3 people. Maybe it's 1, maybe it's 3, maybe it's 10 people that need you to be light in their life, that need you to be salt in their life. And then I want you to scheme. I want you to begin to plan and pray and think about ways that you can show up for them. Think about ways that you can not be sarcastic towards them, but be real for a moment. And maybe it's inviting them to the retreat. Or maybe it's throwing them a YAL party. Or maybe it's just celebrating them when you see them do something good. Whatever it is, think of 1 to 3 people and then go after them this week. Let the light that is in you shine on them so that when they listen to you, you are worth listening to. Let's pray and we'll sing this song together. Jesus, thank you for being so willing to sacrifice your life to show us that we matter to you, to show us that we are loved by you. God, I pray that we would be like you, that we would be willing to be like salt and to draw out the good that we see in other people, that we would be willing to be like light and shine your light into people's lives so that they can know that they matter to you and to us, God. God, I pray for courage among all of our students across all the Twin Cities, Jesus, that they would go back into their schools, they would go back into their families, they would go back into their friend groups, and they would be salt and light with a courage that has been unrivaled in their life. God, show them the way forward and encourage them to do this. And now, God, as we sing this last song together, God, I pray that you would lead us into a time of just knowing who needs this in our life. You would be clear to us, show us their faces, give us their names, Lord, and give us the courage to follow through. Lord, we trust you and we love you. In Christ's name, amen. All right, guys, let's sing this song together.